You know it's this. Take a perk and a talk of that shit. Money swallowing like sis. Did it perfect in the kid. Got a billion who sang on my head. Look up better. Put on the road I just spent. I know we got $1 million. The devil that shit ain't not cheaper again.
Hello and welcome back, fellow anime lovers, to MangaMuse. I am delighted to have you join us once again in the world of fanfiction and fantasy. This is the third part of What If Naruto Enters Lucifer? Special note, this fanfic is written and a masterpiece of AngelFallenDemon on FANFICTIONnet. Do check and support the author too. Now smash the like, share and subscribe button for more. Also press the bell icon so that you never miss such great parts. Thanks for the introduction. Now let's dive into the world. Team 10 stood at the main gates as they waited for the ever-so-late Team 7. Ino just let out a sigh as she wanted to finish her training with her father. Really, are they always this late? Questioned Ino as she crossed her arms. Just then Kiba comes running to the main gate with Akamaru running alongside him. Hey guys. Sorry I'm late. Has my other teammates shown up yet? He asked them as he was standing before them as he was panting a little as he had run all the way from his clan home. Ino looks at him a little annoyed. We have been waiting for your team for over an hour to the point your client is sitting over there drunk off his ass. She said as she points at the old man with his pointed straw hat and white towel wrapped around his neck. Kiba looked at her a little puzzled. I am only 10 minutes late. Kakashi-sensei said that we are to meet at 11 a.m. He told them. Trixie narrows her eyes at what she was being told. Really? Kakashi and I have been told that we are to meet at 10 a.m. at the main gates. Just as Trixie had said that Sasuke and Sakura come strolling along with their own packs on their backs. Sakura narrows her eyes at Ino as she was ready to fight her ex-friend over her teammate. Ino just glared back at the pinkette. Slowly a small grin crept across her lips as she looks at Naruto and jumps on his back, wrapping her arms around his neck and kissing him on the cheek. Thank you Naruto-kun for everything. She tells him. All of Team 7 looks at the pale blonde with shock and wide eyes as they look over at the raven hair girl. A grin crept across her lips as he jumped into his arms and kissed him on the lips. Naruto's eyes widened as he returned the kiss and blushed with Ino hanging off of him and giving him a kiss on the cheek as well. He was being sandwiched between the two girls and not really knowing what to do. DMN. Said Kiba as he was shocked at what just happened. Sasuke just nodded his head as he didn't know what to say about what he just saw. He knows that the blonde is dating the lazy Nara heiress. But didn't know there was also something going on between him and the Yamanaka heiress as well. That is disgusting Ino pig, Shika hog. Hissed out Sakura as she turned away from them and looked at Sasuke from the corner of her eye as she was hoping maybe he would try something like that with her. Both girls of Team 10 just smirk at the pinkette. At least we have a man. Unlike you who just stalks your teammate that doesn't even like you. Said Shikamaru as she smirks. Ino had a slight blush on her cheeks as what her best friend had just said as Naruto had grown brighter with his blush. As Sakura was getting ready to fight with the raven hair girl. Her sensei comes flying past her and her two male teammates. Kakashi slowly wandered around the village as he had gathered everything he needed for his mission and had gone and restocked on several shinobi tools that he might need for the mission, and then picked up some food for this mission as he didn't really want to hunt and just eat MREs and did like to have some fresh fruit with him. But unknown to him he was being stalked by two individuals from the shadows. Amber eyes narrow in on the young silver hair man as he read his perverted book. As the woman that stood next to him laughed. He is being late to test you on your warning. Said the woman. He looks at her as he follows him with out of the corner of his eyes. Well, he will find out the hard way that it isn't wise to cross me. Something I thought I taught him this while he was still a little boy. He growled out. Well, it appears he had forgotten that lesson over time. Said Maze as she looked at Sukumo as he was slowly shifting to his werewolf form. With a growl, Sukumo jumps down from the rooftop across to where Kakashi was standing just reading his book. Boy, I have warned you about being late for missions and training. Did you think I was playing with you? He growls out as he stalks up to the man. Kakashi looks at him with his single eye with fear. No sir. He said with fear in his voice. Why do I feel like speaking to my father? He questioned himself in the back of his mind. Then explained to Maze and myself. Why you are over an hour late for your mission to the land of wave? Questioned Sukumo as he is towering over his son. His normal amber eyes now flashing crimson as he was growing tired of his son's foolish games. I needed a few supplies before the mission, and I didn't know I was running low until I was packing. Said Kakashi as he was hoping this would save his. Sukumo nodded his large wolf head at him as he raises his large clawed hand wrapping his long fingers with long sharp claws around his son's head. Then tell me. Why have you been standing here for the past 20 minutes reading that trash? He questioned as he raises Kakashi off the dirt road that lead down the main gates. Kakashi dropping his book in fear wraps both his hands around the wrist of the beast that held him at his mercy. His body trembled with fear as he was powerless to this demon that held him in the air. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to test you, father. Cried out Kakashi. Sukumo pulled his son close to him. How long have you known I was back from the dead? He whispered into his son's ear. Kakashi's single eye widened as he didn't know this man was really his father back from the dead. He just said it as he remembered how his father would get with people when they crossed him. How? Was his only question. I'll tell you after this mission. But do not ask any questions. For Trixie or Maze can summon me to them and I will not be happy to hear that you have been hounding them, boy. Growled Sukumo as he threw his son at the main gates where Trixie stood with both teams. Sukumo ran after the flying shinobi as he wanted to make show of it and put a little fear into people just for fun. Kakashi slammed into the wall sliding down it. His single eye held fear and tears. Something that the younger shinobi were not sure if the man could handle this mission that was before them. Remember, boy. You are a shinobi. You are on time for missions and training. Stop slacking off with training that pink hair thing standing there with the duck as boy and pup. Growled out Sukumo. Sakura made a fist and glared at the werewolf that stood before her. How dare you call? She didn't finish screaming at the beast before her as the crimson eyes looking at her scared her deep down into her very soul. Do not raise your voice at me, Genin. I am a jonin of this village and you are nothing but a rookie that ISSHT that sticks to the bottom of my boot. Roared out Sukumo as Sakura fell on her peach and crawled away from him with fear. Why yes sir, said Sakura between tears and fear lacing her voice as he was now hiding behind her two male teammates as they both quickly move away from her leaving her to her own fate that she had sown for herself. Tazuna looked at the beast that was standing before him talking and growling and attacking the shinobi that have been hired to protect him. He looked down at the bottle sake in his hand and back up at the black fur and amber eyes looking at him and back down at the bottle. Slowly he placed the bottle down. I think I have finally started seeing things from drinking too much. He said to no one but himself. Sukumo smirked at the man before him. No sir, you're not seeing things. It is a very rare bloodline that runs in my family that allows me to turn into this beast you see before you. He tells Tazuna. Slowly Tazuna nods his head to this. I wish I had more money to hire you for protection. For anyone that attacks me on my trip home and while working on my bridge would run for the hills. He said as this made Sukumo look at him oddly. He felt something was off with the man's statement. He was going to have Ruby and her pack follow after them and if anything happens to them, he will be joining the mission. Hokage be damned. Kakashi finally recovered as he looked at his team and Team 10. Where are your packs? He questioned them. I have everything sealed away in scrolls and in these seal tattoos. Said Naruto as him and his team hold up their arms showing up the sealing tattoos on their forearms. He nods his head and looks over at the client. I am sorry I am late. I had to gather a few things for the mission. He tells Tazuna. Tazuna waves him off. It is fine. Let's just get going before nightfall. I don't want to travel after sunset for of the stories of something that stalks the forest around here on full moons. He says, looking over at Sukumo, who just give him a feral grin. Now standing there is a man with raven locks. Those would be my summons. My hellhounds like to run out in the wild during full moons and hunt. He told the old man with a dark grin. Alright brats, let's go. Said Maze as she grins and looks over at Kakashi, who just nods his head to her as Trixie is standing there in her cute chibi from. Does your team have 4 genin? Asked Tazuna as he was walking next to Maze, who was cleaning her nails with one of her daggers. Looking over at him and over at Trixie as he was looking at the young girl. No, my sister is a jonin and is in her 20s. She said as if it was no big deal. Tazuna's eyes widen. Then why does she look like a child? He questions as he felt uneasy with a child traveling with them. For I am able to shift my body to any size I want and to any age I want. Said Trixie as now she stood before him as a 20-year-old girl with an hourglass figure smirking at him. He just dumbly nods his head to this as Sasuke and Kiba just keep their eyes on her as they found her hot. She had curves in all the right places and her chest was the perfect size for them and a nice peach-shaped lower. Sakura frowns as she sees how Sasuke and even Kiba as drooling over the Jonin sensei of Team 10 frowning at them. They had been traveling all day and are about 3 hours from the coastline between the land of fire and land of waves. Naruto looks at his 2 aunts. I think I'll get a look form up in the air. For I keep picking up something and it has me on edge. He tells them. Both Trixie and Maze nod their heads to this. Kakashi looks over at the 2 women in wonder of how Naruto is going to be taking to the air. Before he can even voice anything, white and black wings appear on the back of the boy's back and he jumps into the air flapping his wings, looking down at them as he moved up over the tree line. What in the hell? Said Tazuna as he drops his sake bottle and wipes his face with his towel. If he lives after this mission, he was going to stop drinking. For the shinobi of Konoha are not normal and the ones from Team 10 are strange as well. Up in the air, Naruto flies over the land and sees that there are 2 men standing about a mile ahead of them and are going through hand signs and vanishing into puddles of water. He frowns at this and radios back. Hey! We got trouble up ahead. They are shinobi and are in a genjutsu on the side of the road as puddles of water. He reports. Maze and Trixie smirk. Well, Naruto, do you want to engage them on your own or do you believe you will be needing any help? Asked Maze. Naruto narrows his eyes over into the woods and smirks. I will engage. But Ruby and the others have been trailing us. I'll go speak with her before I attack. He told Maze. Alright, be careful. Said Trixie. We will be waiting here until we get the coast is clear. Said Maze as she looks everyone. What is going on? Asks Kakashi as he is confused at everything that has happened in the past few seconds. There is an ambush up ahead of us and they have some shinobi training. So Naruto is going to be handling it before we enter the area. Said Trixie as she smirks. What? The dope isn't that strong. Said Sasuke as he was growing annoyed. Are you sure Naruto is strong enough to handle trap up ahead? Questions Kiba as he is worried. He will be fine. He can last about 30 minutes against his uncle Sukumo and his werewolf from. So those 2 bandits ahead of us will be no problem at all. Said Shikamaru as she looked up ahead of them but was being blocked by the bend in the road and all the thick forest before them. They all looked at the raven-haired girl with shock. He can fight that thing? Asked Sakura as fear was written all over her face and voice. Yeah. We can last 30 minutes against him as well. But we have to team up together though. Said Ino as she looks at them as if it wasn't a big deal. Even though we know he is taking it easy on us. Well, he isn't breaking our bones like he does with Naruto. She told them. Kakashi just pales at hear this. His sensei's son was being injured to such a degree and no one even batted an idea at this. Screams cut their conversation as a male missing his right arm falls from the sky before them as another man is being dragged over to them with the chain attached to his left arm, and at the end of the chain is the other man's missing right arm. Ruby and the other hellhounds have both men now pinned to the floor. Growling and licking their lips at them as their fangs are being flashed every time they snap at them. Naruto lands next to them. It appears we have 2 missing Chunins from the land of mist. Their boss sent them to kill the bridge builder and whoever is traveling with him. For they can't have any loose ends, for Gato of Gato's shipping has a large bound on the old man. He said as he looks over at Tazuna. Are those 2 the demon brothers? Question Ino as Shikamaru pulls out a midnight blue bingo book from her pouch. Yeah. We have the demon brother and are known to work with Zabuza. They are low-ranking C-class Chunin as they rely on tag team teamwork to get this missions done. They ran away from the village with their MSTR after he failed to kill their village's Kage. Said Shikamaru as she looks up from the bingo book as she puts it away. Kakashi arches a brow at Team 10. You gave your genin bingo books? He questioned Maze. Yes. As part of T&I want them to know who's out there and who they might be facing in the future. What did you think that we are going to be holding their hands forever? Asks Maze as she glares at the silver hair man. Well, no. But I just don't think is it wise is all. Said Kakashi as he checks over the 2 men to see if they are still alive. Ruby stands up on her hind legs and shifts into a woman. I'll take them back to my lover. Yeah, tell Uncle Sukumo things have gotten hairy, for we are facing Zabuza next. Said Naruto as Trixie just nodded her head to this. I will do that. He has grown bored in the village and Michael will not fight him. Said Ruby as a dark smirk crosses her lips. Yeah, well, can you blame him? If those 2 fight, they will destroy the village. Said Ino as she looked worried about the idea of those 2 fighting ever. Kakashi just pales even more. There was more to the Namikaze family than meets the eye. Something he would need to look into, and also how was his father back from the dead. Sukumo sat in the Hokage's office just glaring at the old leader. Why was I called in here for? He questioned as he wasn't in the mood. His son had found out he was alive and hadn't bothered speaking with him since being back. But he has been busy with keeping his charge safe from those fools in the village and outside of it. The Hokage just looked at the man that sat before him. I was informed that you attacked Kakashi Hatake before his mission. He said with a commanding voice, trying to remind the man before him who the boss was. Sukumo just smirked at the elderly man before him. I was just enforcing what I told him in the past, and he was testing me if I would keep my word. Which I did. He said with a smirk on his face. What were you enforce on my shinobi? Questioned the 3rd Hokage as he was growing tried with the man before him. But there wasn't much he could do with him, for Sukumo had more political pull than himself. Sukumo's smirk grew even larger. I was enforcing the importance on always being on time for missions and team training. For all the time he is wasting on screwing around at that stone and just wandering around the village reading that foolish book. He is wasting the genin's time as well as the clients' and village's time when he is late for meetings you call for us all. He said as he had a smug look in his eyes. For he had done something that not even Ibiki could do with the silver hair man. The Hokage's mouth hung open with shock. Why, you did what? He questioned, shocked. I have fixed your problem with him always being late for missions and meetings from here to his team. He didn't believe I would WHP his as if he didn't do as I told him. Said Sukumo as he was leaning back in the armchair he was sitting in, as his grin changed as he could now smell BLD coming from the shadows and window of the Hokage's office as Ruby and her pack jumped out the window with 2 men. One missing an arm and the other dragging said arm by a chain attached his own arm. Sukumo-sama. Said Ruby as she was on one knee before the man. Speak now, Ruby. Commanded Sukumo as the 3rd Hokage as he was now watching on with shock. Naruto along with my team have taken down the 2 missing ninjas from Kiri. The demon brothers who work for Zabuza, also known as the Demon of the Bloody Mist. Naruto-kun had sent us back to inform you about what is happening, and his team and the other team will be needed back up for Kakashi, and the others will not be a match for what Gato of Gato's shipping has put a bounty on bridge builder, for he can't not have a bridge to stop his strong hold on the poor island. Said Ruby. Sukumo sits up in the armchair growling. What did you say? He growls out. His eyes flash crimson from amber as he was turning into a werewolf before the Hokage, who has never seen the man shift like this before, as crimson flames licked at his feet. The client has lied about the mission ranking? Questioned Sarutobi as he looked at Ruby. Yes. Lord Hokage. But you can't blame the poor man. For he has spent all his funding on building material for the bridge. As Gato is bleeding the island dry and has kidnapped several of the women and young girls to sell into the SEC trade. Said Ruby as she could see Sukumo was growing angrier by the second. I will pay for the higher mission. If you add me to it. For I worry Naruto will get himself hurt or killed trying to protect his teammates and those fools on Kakashi's team. Well, besides the pup who's trying to make himself into a true shinobi. Growled out Sukumo as he was pulling money out of his pouch and throwing it at the Hokage. Fine. Go. Said the Hokage as he knew there was no stopping the man. Ruby, go to Maze and tell her to summon me in 20 minutes. For I need to gather supplies, and if any of those angels want to join me. Ordered Sukumo as he was moving to the window to jump out and make his way to the family compound. Ruby turned to the Hokage. It might be best to mark the other two joining the mission as well. She tells the Hokage with a bow. Fine. Said Sarutobi with a wave of his hand as his ANBU has come out of their hidden corners to clean up the two men to get them some medical treatment, and then seen by Ibiki as they are still alive. The team to the wave. Ruby appeared before Naruto. Sukumo-sama wishes to be summoned here in the next 20 minutes. She tells Naruto as she looks over at Maze. Maze smirks, nodding her head. Fine. Let your lover know I'll be summoning him here in the next 20 minutes. She told the Hellhound. Naruto looks over at his aunt as he sees that Kakashi is hiding behind Trixie. He arches an eyebrow at this. Why was this man so scared of his uncle? Something he would have to ask. Oh, Kakashi-chan. Don't be scared of the big bad wolf. He isn't going to eat you. Well, he might if you PSS him off. Said Trixie as she giggles, patting the frightened man on his silver locks. Kakashi's eyes roll back in his head from the sheer fear he was feeling at this very moment on having his dead father joining them on a mission. Naruto walks over to the man and picks up a stick and slowly pokes the man with his stick. Is he going to be alright? He asks as he looks up to his two aunts. He will be fine. Said Maze as she had a sadistic grin on her face, looking forward to what will happen with the father-son meeting. The time flew by and the 20 minutes was up, and Maze had thought the special hand signs needed to summon a demon. This demon she was calling was one of Lucifer's powerful newer generals that could take down even Azazel. With him beating the great demon, Sukumo assured the demon's loyalty to Lucifer after everything. Crimson flames came from the summoning circle, with flames licking around him and the three others standing in the circle around him. Michael narrowed his eyes at the other team joining his twin brother's son's team. Kakashi just paled even more when he saw Michael. Sensei. He whispered in fear. I am not my brother, you fool. Hissed out Michael as he walks past Kakashi and walks over to Maze and Trixie. What has happened so far? He demanded of the two women before him. Naruto and Ruby took out two Chunins that had planned a surprise attack on us. But Naruto had an odd feeling and could smell something off and went to check it out from the sky. He did well if you ask me. Said Trixie as she smiles at the archangel standing before her. Michael nodded his head at this. Excellent. It appears he is taking to my training well. He said as he looks over at Naruto, who just smiles and turns back to talking to Kiba, Shika, and Ino about something. Sukumo stood before Tazuna. I have paid for a higher mission for you to get 3 Jonins on this mission along with the 3 Jonins already on this mission. he said as he looked at the gray-hair man before him. Thank you very much. I didn't have the money for a higher mission, said Tazuna with tears rolling down his cheeks. I know. My summons Ruby told me as well as the Hokage, said Sukumo as he looks over to the hellhound that stood off in the shadows of the forest around them all. Tazuna saw where the man before him was looking and saw the other hellhounds watching and growling from the shadows of the forest. Hell. Lucifer laughs as he saw what Sukumo done to his son. About time someone knocks some scene in that boy. He tells his wife as she is looking at a few files on the desk. I do agree, said Kushina as she placed down several files down before herself. Hun. Yes, love? Questioned Lucifer looking over to his wife as she has a shy smile on her face. You know that the Chunin exams are coming up in a few months and I would like to enter a team form a couple of the families in hell, said Kushina as she looks at him with the dangerous puppy eye no jutsu. Lucifer sweat drops and smiles at her. I was looking into that and I do believe that would be an excellent idea of sending a team of our own, he told his wife. Kushina smiles. Good. I have several here that I believe that would be ready for that type of exam, she tells him. He nods his head and looks down at the files. Hell. Lucifer's office. Rosweiss sat across a crimson-hair woman who narrowed her violet eyes at her, as Rosweiss was staring at Lucifer with a slight blush on her cheek. You called for me, Mstr? Asked the silver-hair woman. Lucifer for one just cleared his throat and looked over to his beloved wife. My darling wife was the one to call for you, Rosweiss, he told her. Now this had the silver-hair woman now looking at the crimson-hair beauty that was sitting on the armrest of her Mstr's chair. The woman that she hadn't noticed when she had walked into his office. She blinked her aqua eye at the violet eyes now glaring at her openly. You're married to my Mstr? She questioned with pure shock lacing her voice. Kushina got a smug look on her face. Yes. He is my husband and we are happily married, she told the woman that sat across from them. This made Rosweiss frown as she had lost any chance she believed she would have with the man that sat across from her. Just my luck. He returns from the human world with a bride. Why did I have to wait? Oh, that's right, Maze, she thought to herself as tears streamed down her now puffy cheeks. Was there a reason for calling me? Questioned Rosweiss after a few seconds of self-pity. She looked at the man and woman that sat across from her. Kushina had an evil demonic grin on her face that made Rosweiss sink back into the armchair she was sitting in. Yes. You are to select 3 teenage devils to go to the human world to take part in the Chunin exams that will be happening in a few months' time, Kushina told the woman that sat across from her. This made Rosweiss arch a brow at the woman. What's the Chunin exams? Why do I need teenagers? She questioned, not truly knowing that the human world above had changed a lot. She had seen a lot of new types of people and demons popping up in hell as of late and in the other pure worlds, but hadn't looked into it, as she didn't really care at the time. Kushina's right eye began to twitch as she looks down at Lucifer as he knew she was going to lose it and it wasn't going to end well for the silver-hair woman that was sitting across from them. Letting out a defeated sigh, Lucifer looks at Rosweiss. The Chunin exams is an exam that tests the skill of a shinobi to see if they are ready to move up to a higher ranking. They need a team of 3 to begin the exam, and for the final part of the exam 1 to all 3 to none of them can move on, he told the confused woman. Her eyes light up as she understood now and then held a question within them. Sir. May I ask you a question? Asked Rosweiss. Lucifer nodded his head for her to ask. Well, why don't you send Sukumo? He is a shinobi and is better suited for this mission, said Rosweiss as she felt a little weird taking on this mission for her Mstr. We would have. But Sukumo is in the human world aiding in raising our son, said Kushina as she smiled at the woman before her as she loved the shocked expression on the woman's face. You're your son? stammered Rosweiss as she looked shocked as she also paled at this new piece of information. Yes. Our son. Said Kushina smiling like the cat that ate the canary. The silver-hair woman just dumbly nodded her head to this. I'm okay. But who do you have in mind for my team? She questioned as she didn't know who would work well together. 3 files appeared before Rosweiss. She looked down at them and clipped to each file was a photo and name. The first is Rias Gremory, a crimson-hair beauty from a house of high-ranking devils knights that sever under Lucifer. Second is Ingvild Leviathan, a purple-hair beauty with orange eyes. Final member of the group Kuroka, a raven-hair beauty with golden amber eyes and cat ears on her head and twin cat tails. You give me a princess, a siren, and an assassin for this mission? Questioned Rosweiss, a little puzzled at this odd team that was given to her. They each have powers and strengths that will aid them well in the human realm and will help carry one of them to the finals of the Chunin exams. Where I or someone that will represent me will go to Earth to play the Kage of our new hidden village Yomi no Kuni and have them act as the Yamakage. Said Lucifer with a grin. For he knew for his brother's screw-up. God's hold on having him stay in hell was weakening and he would be able to escape soon. But he wasn't sure if his appealing wife would be able to join him though. But if he returned to the land of the living, he wouldn't be able to return looking like Minato Namikaze but as Lucifer Morningstar. The Rosweiss just nodded her head. Yes sir, as you wish. I will find the girls and inform them of their mission. She said, stand and bowing to the two. Before I forget. I want you and the girls to show up here in the morning. For you all will be getting Shinobi Boot Camp 101. Said Kushina as a crimson aura surrounded her as her hair formed 9 crimson tails. Yes my lady. Said a frightened Rosweiss as she vanished from the office. Lucifer looks up to this wife. You are enjoying this way too much. You know we could have chosen Shinobi that Sukumo had recruited into his own army. He told his darling wife. Kushina looked down at her husband with a wicked but angelic grin on her face. Oh, I know that, dear. But I want to teach those little girls a lesson. She told him as she stood up and left his office. This left Lucifer wonder what the hell those 3 had done to PSS off Kushina. Coast of the Land of Fire. Michael looks at Naruto. I want you to fly across this sea to the other shoreline. He ordered as he found this would be good training for the boy. Naruto looked taken back by this. He wasn't expecting to be flying over this stretch of sea to the other side. He figured at most he would have been ordered to water walk or something along those lines. Are you sure? You're not worried of someone spotting me? He questioned with a little nervous about the orders he had been given by his uncle. Michael ached a golden brow to this. Are you questioning my orders? He asked the young blonde that stood before him. No sir. I'm not. I was just clarifying, that is all. Said Naruto as his wings appeared behind him and he took off running and jumped into the air and flew off leaving the others. Maze narrowed her eyes at the archangel that stood before her. You best be joining him. For there could be an unknown on the other side of the shoreline. She hissed out at him. Michael just rolled his eyes as his mighty wings appeared. From his back and with one might push, he was off the ground and up into the air flying across the sea that laid before them all. Sasuke just looked annoyed at how Naruto and his freak of an uncle had something he couldn't have nor copy. By now poor Tazuna had given up drinking. He threw the bottle of sake into the sea before them all as a decent-sized boat appeared from the mist that was before them all. The boatman just glared at the old drunk. Watch where you're throwing that DMN thing, you old drunk. He hissed as he looked at all those that stood on the shoreline. I don't have enough room for everyone here. He said looking at all the Jonin and Genin. Don't worry, we have our own way across. Said Trixie as wings appeared behind her back and the other 2 angels' backs and they also pushed off the ground. We will be meeting you on the other side. She called out with a giggle. As even the boatman threw out his own bottle of sake thinking the thing had gone bad. Naruto flew around the shoreline looking around for anyone from up high in the sky as he used the clouds as cover from anyone spotting him. He even used his chakra to find others. For now it looked good. He quickly dove down into a small clearing surrounded in mist by the shoreline. He had seen the boat making a beeline for that spot and there he would wait for the others. Not bad. But you need to pick up speed when you are descending onto the earth, said Michael from behind the boy. Naruto turned around and looked up at his uncle. I know. But I will get better with time, he said as he looked around the area. He figured if he was here might as well do a little scouting around before the others got there. Naruto looked back at his uncle. I can feel someone watching us. They are about a quarter of a mile away, he said looking back into the tree line that was not too far from them. Michael nodded his head. Yes, I picked up on the child myself, he said as he turned to look at the others that just arrived to hear what he had said. So what do we do about them? Questioned Trixie as her wings vanished into her back and walked over to Naruto to make sure the boy was doing okay. For now, we just allow them to watch us. For I believe they are only the lookout for the one that we will be facing here soon, said Naruto looking back at the others as the boat makes shorefall. They all just nod their heads and look at the other genin as they walk up to the shore. You must learn not to be so loud while walking, little one, growled out Michael as he looked at the Uchiha of the group. The boy had pretty much splashed his way up to the shore. As Shika, Ino, and Kiba had already learned how to water walk and stood on top of the water looking at Sasuke and Sakura, who was getting ready to yell at the archangel that stood before her. If I was you, I would keep that trap of yours shut, little girl, said Michael as a flaming sword appeared in his head as he pointed at the pinkette. Sakura just dumbly nodded her head at the blonde's request. Michael just smirked at this as the flaming sword vanished from where it had come. Kakashi looked on with fear as his father was breathing down his neck. You will be training these children better while we are here, growled out Sukumo as he looked at his son with disappointment in his eyes. My death and the death of the girl, it broke him too much. If only he knew his one friend was still alive and was twisted by that bstrd. He thought to himself as he made a fist. We have eyes on us, so we will be coming with caution from here on out, said Maze as she looked at the others around her. All the adults nodded their heads as the genin looked at each other. Naruto saw the fear in Sakura's eyes and the unmistakable bloodlust that lingered in Sasuke's eyes. Kiba just shook his head as his partner jumped from his jacket and began sniffing the ground as Ruby and the other hellhounds appeared to aid the little puppy and maybe train him better. He was well trained, but there was still more room for the pup to grow. With Haku, the hidden boy's eyes widened as he heard that they had already found his location. This isn't good. Not even the chakra feed mist isn't hiding me, he thought as an ice mirror appeared behind him as he quickly took a step behind himself and vanished into the mirror. In a clearing by a small lake, a large man with a sword that is about a half a foot shortened than himself stood waiting for his tool to return. He looked up as a mirror appeared before him. Report, he growled out in his gravelly voice. I was stopped by them, but I did see who is protecting the old man. We have a problem. 4 of his protectors are in the bingo book as well. An unknown man with golden hair with wings as a boy that appeared to look like the man as well had wings. As well, one of the women from the bingo book had wings, said Haku to his MSTR. Show me who was there, ordered the man. The boy pulled out the newest of the bingo books they had picked up off of a rock shinobi they had killed for the man's bounty. There on page 45 was the 2 women in the group. The man looked up from the book. We could make a nice payday with just 3 of them. Kakashi will just be chump change, he said with a sigh. Yes, Zabuza-sama. But the unknowns are the ones that make me worry though. Also they outpower the 2 of us. For I do not believe my ice will be able to handle Sukumo as well as the 2 women, said Haku as he looks up at his MSTR. If I was you, I would listen. The child, came a smooth but dark voice from behind the 2. There stood a woman with blonde hair as her eyes flashed crimson. My Mstr Sukumo doesn't have time to play with you too. As well, the troll you are working for will turn on you too. He has done that to the last shinobi that he had hired in the land of demons. She said with a grin on her face. There is a reason he and the two women are allowed in the land of demons. She told them. You are? Questioned Zabuza as he looked at the woman. A smirk played at the corner of her mouth. I am a hellhound summons of my Mstr as well as his lover. She told him as she took on her hellhound from. This made a shiver run down the large man's back. His large hand pushed the boy behind him. What the hell are you? Questioned Zabuza. Sukumo slowly stepped out of the mist. We are demons from hell. For we have a mission to protect the child of our Mstr. He said as his eyes flashed amber. Leave here now, Haku. Growled out Zabuza. An ice mirror appeared behind the boy as Zabuza took his sword and stepped back along with his student. This was a fight he knew himself that he would not be able to handle as this was a true demon. Border of the land of wave. Two men stood in a tree line looking at the sea before them. So do we go now, or do we just wait until the week is up? Asked a blue-skinned man as he glanced over to his left to a shorter man standing next to him. We wait. I still don't like this job that Kakuzu got us. Said the shorter male to the taller one. The taller male just nods his head to this. Fine, we can set up camp nearby. He said and turned to walk away. Hidden base. This isn't good. Growled out Zabuza. Haku looks up to his Mstr. That BSTRD has confirmed the gut feeling I have been getting for the past week we have been here. The way the BSTRD has been watching you mostly. Said Zabuza as he looks to his tool. What do we do now? Questioned Haku. We watch and wait. Said Zabuza as he walked over to his chair and sat down with his massive sword resting on his lap. Naruto. And the others. Well, did you have fun? Questioned Maze as she and the group walked up behind Sukumo. Sukumo looked over his shoulder with a grin. Not really. But I have something else to keep me busy until we have issues. He tells her as his eyes move over to Kakashi as he just pales and looks away from his father. Flashback. Lucifer sat before Cammy with a smirk on his devilishly handsome face. Why Cammy, why are you so against me going back to Earth? He asked with his smirk on his face. Cammy glares at the fallen archangel sitting before her. Lucifer, she hissed. It would be too much trouble having you back on Earth playing around like you have in the past. She told him as Yami just sat there nodding her head in agreement. Well, Cammy, I came here to ask if I am able to return to Earth in a different way. Said Lucifer looking at the two women before him with confusion on their faces. What way would you be returning back to Earth, Lucifer? Questioned Yami as she wanted to know what the Prince of Darkness was up to. Lucifer's eyes flashed crimson as he looked over at Yami still with his devilish charming smile. I would like to be reborn on Earth to live like a human with some of my power, of course. I don't want to be completely powerless. He said looking at the two. But also I would like to have Maze joining me if that wouldn't be too much trouble. He added on with a grin. End of flashback. Just a little flashback of Lucifer's meeting with the two goddesses. Itachi looked over at the ocean that kept him and his partner from crossing to the land of wave. I'm getting a bad feeling about this mission and if what I spotted with my crows. We don't want to get mixed up in that man's mission, for it would mean the end for Kisame as the fool would go head first thinking his sword will protect him from death. But can't that blade protect him from a true demon? He wondered to himself as he turned to look over at the now snoring Kisame. Konoha Hokage's office. A woman with crimson locks appeared before the Hokage in a ring of fire. The old man froze as he saw who it was. Kushina-chan. He whispered with fear lacing his voice. Kushina grinned at the old man with a scroll in her hands. Hello, old man. I see they are still having you as a paper pusher. she told him in a teasing tone. He let out a sign. If you are here, then it appears something is happening. For the dead just doesn't reappear in the land of the living out of the blue. He told her with another sigh. A smirk played across Kushina's lips. Well, I do have a scroll to deliver for my husband Lucifer. He wants to enter a team into the up-and-coming Chunin exams. She told him as his eyes widened when she said her husband's name. He just dumbly nodded his head and took the scroll from the woman's hand. I will be seeing you both in 6 months. He asked her. She just nodded her head as she vanished into another flash of flames as the office door opened. Land of Wave. Where are the 2 I have hired to kill Zabuza? Growled out Gato as he looked at his men. I'm not sure, boss. But one of the guards did say they saw 2 men in the forest on the land of Fireside dressed in black robes with red clouds. Said a silver-haired thug. Gato's eye began twitching. Those are the 2 BSTRDS that I hired to take care of the trouble, as it appears Zabuza has turned tail. He grumbled out as he looked at another man in his office. Send a boat to pick those 2 up. He ordered as he looked down next to him at the poor girl chained to his desk. She was a traveler that had just arrived on the island that morning, and one of Gato's thugs found her and brought her to his boss as she was appealing with her brown eyes and raven locks and milk-white skin. Now my dear, we should get to know each other, said Gato with a disgusting smirk on his face, looking down at the young woman. Her brown eyes narrow on him as a smirk plays across her lips. I would rather not, she said as the chains on her wrist began to metal as flames surround her fist. I have to meet up with my little brother and I don't have time for a fool like yourself. She hissed out at him, with the old fool turning pale and running away as he yells for his thugs to protect him from the she-devil before him. The large oak desk had flames licking at it. But it wasn't burning it, as it appeared the young woman was controlling the flames around her. Take whatever you want and just leave, cried Gato as the young woman looked at the money on his desk. She shrugged her shoulders and opened the pack she had on her back and put the money in it and jumped out of the window. This wasn't her problem, and she had to get back to her little brother she hadn't seen in a while. Traveling the sea and the world had been fun. But it was also lonely without her family, and now it was time to return, for her little brother was now of age to become a shinobi, as he would always tell her he was going to become the greatest of them all. After escaping from the troll, the girl walked into the forest letting out a sigh and found a lake with no one around. I need to clean myself off, she said to herself as she took off the traveling robes she had put on, just leaving herself in a sports bra and boy shorts. She took out some soap and a change of clothing and walked into the water with the soap in hand. Not too far from her, Naruto, Kiba, Shikamaru, and Ino walk thought the forest, just chatting and laughing as Akamaru is playing with one of the younger hellhounds Ruby brought along with them. Yeah, this is insane. We are here and Zabuza is on the island, but hasn't made a move, said Naruto. By the lake, the girl had finished her bath and was pulling on her shorts when she heard voice coming her way. She didn't think much, for they sounded young. She went back, pulling on her boy short panties and pulling on her sports bra as she reached for her black shorts, pulling them on when she saw 2 puppies run into the clearing she is dressing in next to the lake. Meggy, don't run off with Akamaru like that, came a boy's voice not too far from the tree line. The girl just looked up once more, putting on her 3 belts as one held up her pants as the other held a strange weapon called a gun on it on her right hip, as the third one held a knife on her the front of her right hip. The buckle that held the belts on her was a red spade with an A on the center of it in black. She picked up the orange short sleeve button-up shirt, slipping it on, leaving it open, and picking up her orange hat with a pair of goggles on it with faces on the goggle lenses. The right one laughing as the left one was crying. A boy about 15 years old breaks thought the brush and stops dead in his tracks as he sees the girl putting on black bracelets on her, both her wrist, and a spiked bracelet as well on her right wrist, and a red beaded necklace. Sitting next to her was a yellow pack with a pair of black boots. The girl looks up. She looked around 18 years old, maybe 19 years old. Her eyes widen when she sees the boy. Naru? She questioned, looking at him. Ace-chan. Questioned Naruto looking at the girl before him. What are you doing here? Asked the now named Ace as three others come up walking behind the blonde. I'm on a mission. What are you doing here, sis? Questioned Naruto looking at the girl before him. Ace smirks. Well, I got a little bored and I figure I come and see you and the others. She tells him as he runs up to her, pulling her into a large hug. Kiba, Shika, and Ino look at each other confused as they have never seen this girl before in their lives. Naruto-kun, who's the girl? Questioned Ino as Shikamaru was trying to figure out how the two knew each other. They break their hug looking back at the three standing behind him. Naruto smiles largely, rubbing his right hand behind his head. He chuckles nervously. This is my older sister Ace. He told them. Ace smiles at them and bows to them. Hello. I am Porgas Namikaze D. Ace. She tells them as she stands back up looking at everyone. Their jaws all drop open at hearing the girl's name. She didn't have Uzumaki in her name. Did the fourth Hokage have a daughter before her was with Naruto's mom? Ace knew what they were thinking, but it was best not to explain that she isn't of their world but was saved by Lucifer and allowed a new life that she was robbed of in her past life. So Neru, how's everyone back home? Questioned Ace as she grinned down at her little brother. In so many ways Neru reminded her of her little brother from her past life. She hoped to see one day. They're all good. They're here and Uncle Michael is here, and Uncle Uriel was sent back to heaven. Said Naruto as if it wasn't a big deal. I see. I'm glad to hear you're all safe and going well. It would be nice to see everyone. Said Ace as she grins at him. Sure, we were just returning from training and heading back the client's home. Said Naruto as the others nod their heads. Off in the shadows Haku watched the five teens talk as he had a blush on his cheeks as he had seen the girl naked, and this was the first time he had ever seen a naked girl. I must return. He whispered to himself as he stepped back into a mirror, vanishing from sight. You felt that, Neru? Whispered Ace as her eyes looked to where her PPNG-TM had been watching her for a while now. Yeah. It was the same person that is with Zabuza. Naruto whispered back to his sister. Ace looked at her brother with wide eyes. You're going to be facing him? She questioned him as she didn't want the others to hear what they are talking about. Yeah, but he ran off when he faced a true demon. Naruto told her as she grinned. DMN old werewolf. Ace said with a chuckle. Well, let's go see the others. Maybe I'll aid in this mission. She said, turning to the others. Let's go. She told them as they nodded their heads, following the strange girl claiming to be Naruto's older sister. Lake in front of Tazuna's house. Sukumo growled at Kakashi. How in the hell are they not at the same level as their teammate Kiba? He demanded, wanting to know what the hell his son had been doing. Well, I have been ordered to focus mainly on Sasuke, and Sakura doesn't really want to train. All she wants to do is watch Sasuke. Said Kakashi with fear as Sasuke and Sakura fell down a tree in front of the lake. That isn't a good excuse. You have been lazy, boy. Growled out Sukumo as his eyes turned amber as he was ready to bite his son's head off. You need to get your head out of your ass. For you owe that Uchiha nothing. The BSTRD is still alive. Said in a low growl, looking at his shocked and dazed son standing before him. What do you mean he is still alive? I saw half his head being crushed by a massive stone. Said Kakashi as he had the look of horror on his face. Sukumo glared at Kakashi. He is still alive, for his cursed soul never came to hell where I was having fun playing with all the dead Uchihas. He told Kakashi. Kakashi's single eye widened with fear and shock. Then why didn't he ever return home? He asked just above a whisper. Because he has become Madara's puppet and is now wanting to kill Naruto and others like him. Growled out Sukumo, looking down at his son with disappointment-filled eyes. Kakashi fell to his knees from the truth of what his friend had become. Now he had a lot to thinking about. He looked over at Sasuke and Sakura. Slowly he let out a sigh. Sasuke, Sakura, no more screwing around. We are going to train for real, but you two still need to learn the basics of working as a team, as that will be your downfall," said Kakashi as he pulled himself back to his feet, looking at her father with his head down. "Father, I am sorry," he said just above a whisper for Sukumo to hear as he turned away and walked up to his two misfit students. "But sensei, we do train, and who cares about Kiba?" whined Sakura, not liking whatever that BSTRD had told her sensei. Before she could open her mouth once more to whine and be, Kakashi slapped her across the face. This is what Naruto and the others saw as they walked up. "Genin Sakura Haruno. You will not question my orders. As for that, I want you to run 50 laps around the lake starting now," said Kakashi with an ice-cold glare in his single eye. Sasuke just smirked at Sakura getting slapped. Kakashi's icy gaze didn't miss how the Uchiha had just behaved. "Sasuke, you will be joining Sakura on this run. But I want you to do a 100 laps," he told the spoiled stuck-up boy. Sukumo turned around grinning as he was finally happy his son grew a set of ball. But he froze when he saw Ace. "My little wild ace of spades has returned," said Sukumo as the others heard him call out a new name from inside the house. Ace grinned like mad seeing her uncle. "Uncle Wolfley," she said as she ran up to him and jumped into his arms. "So are you done playing pirate?" asked Sukumo, looking down at the girl in his arms. "For now. Maybe I can play shinobi for a while. For all the pirate crews out there, SCK, and I kicked all their asses," said Ace with a large grin on her face and a twinkle in her eye that would make Maze proud. Sukumo laughed. "Well, I could take you on as my personal student if you like. For you're already Jonin level," he said with a smirk on his face as Kakashi paled, looking at the girl in his father's arms. Ace sees the silver hair man and smirks. "I see you have found your cub. Have you fixed him yet?" she asked as she'd been waiting for that day. "A little. He is finally training his students. But you know Maze, Trixie, and myself have stolen one of his students to make sure he will make off his team alive," said Sukumo loud enough for Kakashi to hear as he didn't care. As a demon he held no shame anymore. F what anyone thought of him. Ace grinned back at him. "Good. Sugarcoating things just makes more of a mess for everyone and everything," she said with a wink at her uncle. "By the way, I had someone peep on my while I was bathing in a lake where I met Naru and the others," Ace whispered as Sukumo's eyes widened. "I'll be hunting tonight for a little BSTRD," Sukumo growled out as his eyes turned amber. Ace laughed. "Don't worry about it. The one you want to kill is Gato. The BSTRD tried raping me. But I shocked him though," she told him as she held up her finger as it lit up a flame. Sukumo grinned. "Yes, I will be taking his head tonight now," he said as he was growing in size. Maze walked up next to Sukumo. "It looks like someone did something to his little Ace." She laughed, knowing that look in the demon's eye. Ace giggled. "You could say that. But my auntie Maze will be joining him as well, for she doesn't like a pedo trying to touch her little Ace-chan either," she said in a sweet tone. Maze cracked her knuckles. "Trixie, get my knives. We are gutting a pig tonight," she called out to her little sister. Trixie giggled as she threw the strange knives at the demoness standing next to Sukumo. "Whose head we are taking and how much fun will I be having as bait?" she questioned the two. "Gato," hissed out both Sukumo and Maze. Everyone just looked at two as dark auras coming off of the two. "All right," said Trixie as she turned into a young girl about 13 years old. "How can an angel so pure be a demon?" questioned Michael from the steps of the house. "For the angel before me was murder, for whose blood flows through her veins," said Trixie with a dark smirk on her face. "Whatever. You would have made a powerful archangel if only you didn't want to follow my brother to hell like a fool," said Michael. You'll never utterly understand Michael. But maybe one day you will. Maybe one day you will find the love your father wants you to have," said Trixie with a sht-eating grin on her face. Michael rolled his eyes and looked at Ace. "Girl, be ready to train in the morning with the others," he ordered, walking off into the forest around the house. "Well, isn't he a pleasant one?" said Ace as she rolled her own eyes at the man walking off. "That is an understatement," said Naruto as he fell to the ground on his back. "He is a SLV driver," he said dramatically, as the others laughed at his antics. The night was blacker than black as there was no moon in the sky, for it was a new moon. A massive wolf tore through the forest leading towards Gato's compound. As a young girl rode on his back as a woman ran alongside them. Earlier that day, Haku returned to his MSTR. Zabuza-sama. He panted out as he rushed into the room as he followed after the group of kids and heard what the girl he peeped on talked about with the demon with. "What is it?" growled out Zabuza as he looks up annoyed from his bed, looking up from his student. Haku falls to the floor before his MSTR. Gato has screwed up and had taken prisoner and tried raping a girl that is related to Sukumo, he said with panic lacing his voice. Forgetting his near-paralyzed state, Zabuza shot up straight, looking at the boy sitting before him on the floor. "What did you just say?" he demanded. "I was near Gato's compound gathering herbs and other things I would need for your treatment when I saw flames escape his office window and a girl with long raven locks come flying out of the window surrounded in flames. She jumps down and takes off running laughing, and I follow her to a lake where she cleans up and meets up with the blonde-hair kid that was with Sukumo. I followed them to the bridge builder's house and listened to them. Gato is going to die tonight," said Haku, looking up at Zabuza with fear in his eyes. "We have to leave," said Zabuza as he was trying to move. "If I was you, I would lay back down," said a voice from the doorway. They looked to the doorway to see a man that appeared to look like the late fourth Hokage. "Who are you?" demanded Zabuza as he was moving for his sword. Michael smirks, looking at the man that could hardly move and the boy that looked at him with pure fear. "I am the Archangel Michael, the twin brother of Lucifer. Or as you know him as Minato Namikaze in this world," he said, walking over to them as he sat down in the large chair across from where Zabuza normal sat down at. Zabuza narrowed his black eyes at him. "What do you want of me, Archangel?" he questioned, looking at the man before him. Michael smirked once more. "I am seeking person guards to protect my nephew once I am gone from this world. For I have duties I must attend to in Silver City. Duties that I cannot ignore to spend my days here until my nephew can join his father and mother in hell," he said, looking at the man that fell back into his bed. "So you are here to recruit myself and the boy to take over guard duty over the blonde of the group?" questioned Zabuza, as there was only one genin in all the brats that looked like the man that sat across from him. "You could say that. For you are a demon. You would become part of my nephew's army once he takes his place alongside his father. But the boy that is beside you, he would go to Silver City once he dies. For that is where all pure soul go when they died. For not everyone can be a demon like yourself, demon of the bloody mist," said Michael with a smirk. That is when it clicked at what the man was saying to him. "So it is true what you are saying. You are not of this world?" questioned Zabuza, looking at Michael. "I have never been of this world. I was born in heaven to serve my father. But my younger brother Lucifer couldn't do as he was told and had to have his way and now rules over hell. But at times he leaves hell and goes on vacation in the human world and plays with you little humans like his person little toys. This lifetime it was a little different. He found love in the crimson hair woman and had a child. A child that could end this world or lead it to greatness. But that all depends on the boy and whose he surrounds himself with and ally himself with as well," said Michael. "Stand up. I will give you until the day the bridge is finished to think it over," he said, leaving the hideout. Gato's compound. Men with swords and other weapons walk around the walls looking out for any type of trouble. As a young girl with long green hair and silver eyes come wandering out of the forest crying. "Mommy!" she whimpers. A man near the gate looks over to the tree line to see the girl walking his way. "Hey, there is a girl coming our way," he told the other fool next to him. The other guy looks up from what he was doing. "Let me call someone to come and get her," he said, walking inside the gated walls. "Hey, we need someone to come get a kid. She might be the one that got away earlier," he called out as several thugs come running out. One had a bucket of water, not sure if they would need it or not. "She will be a nice gift for the boss, for she doesn't look like the girl that got away earlier," said one of the other thugs as they surround her. "Mommy!" cried the little girl looking at the guys. "Ah, come on sweetie. Your mommy might be inside," said an orange-hair thug with a nasty smirk on his face. "Okay," she said, rubbing her eyes as she looks over her shoulder to her two friends weighing in the shadows. They needed her to get past the gates before they attacked, as they needed her in the inside before they attacked. The odd trip stalked through the forest that lead to Gato's little not-so-little hideout. Trixie, always her chipper self, grinned. "Shall I go up ahead?" She looked up to Maze and Sukumo. Maze looked down to her. "Yeah. We'll wait here about 20 minutes, and that should give you enough time to get the guards and the troll pig time to see you," she said with a dark look in her eyes. Trixie nodded her eyes as she looks at Sukumo. "Really, you're having Ruby and the others shadow me?" she said with a giggle. He nods his head as he didn't want her to go in there alone. For he didn't trust those BSTRDS with the girl, and if anything happened to her, angel or not, Lucifer would have his demon head. Trixie walked up to the main gates of Gato's little stronghold. She had been crying, playing the part of a lost and helpless little child. "Mommy," she cried. This made the guards to walk over to the gates to see what the noise they hear is. "What is going on?" one of the thugs asked. "I don't know. I think I hear a brat crying," said the other. "Go and find out," said Gato from his open window. "If there is a brat out there, bring the brat here to my office," he ordered the two thugs. "Yes, sir," said the two thugs as they ran to the gates to find a little girl about the age of 10 with raven locks and her hair pulled up in pigtails and ripped up white dress. "Hey kid, come here," said the first thug. Off in the shadows, Sukumo growled. "I will kill them all," he said in growls, licking his chops as his hellhound steps out of the shadows, slowly growling at the men that didn't see them and didn't hear them just yet. "Calm yourself, Sukumo," said Maze as she wrapped her hands around her blades tightly. "Can it, Maze?" growled out Sukumo. Trixie took the thug's hand and followed them into Gato's stronghold, and already knowing what the man within these walls have planned for her. Oh, these fools, didn't they hear the growls surrounding them? Didn't they feel the bloodlust coming towards them from one the demons surround them? Wondered Trixie. As they vanished, Sukumo and Maze slid over the wall, followed by the hellhounds. "Time to play," said Maze as she licks her blades. Before the thugs that surround the stronghold can, screams of bloody horror of the beast that stand before them. Within a blink of an eye they had killed all the men sitting outside and drinking. Inside the stronghold, Trixie stands before a gray-haired man wearing sunglasses at night inside of his office. He is also wearing a blue tailor suit, as he only stands about 4 feet 7 inches. Even at the tender age of 10 that Trixie is pretending to be, she towering over the man. "Mister, can you help me find my mommy?" she said between tears and hiccups. A dark and creepy smirk gracing his lips. "Why, yes, my dear. I shall aid you in finding your mommy," he said, grinning even more. "Why don't you come over here around my desk and sit on my lap and tell me where you last saw your mommy, and I can send my men to find her," he said, chuckling darkly. Trixie slowly nodded her head, hiccuping with tears in the corners of her eyes. "Fool, do you not see death standing right next to you?" A mental smirk came to play. As Trixie rounded the large oak desk, a knife appeared in her hand as well. She slowly began to age. By the time she stood before Gato, she was now an 18-year-old young woman. Gato's eyes widened. "Who or what are you?" he asked with fear in his voice. Trixie grinned as the double doors to his office exploded open behind her as the two thugs that had brought her in had flown past her and crashed into the wall behind. The man looked up at the young woman before him. "Lucifer has a message for you, Gato. Swine like yourself do not go unjudged by the king of hell. We have been sent to pass judgment upon your soul as death stands beside you to take you back to Lucifer for a few words before you meet your final fate," she said as the demon wolf pushed off the ground and began walking on his hind legs, and there was the woman licking the blood off one of her blades. Before Gato could beg for his life, the knife in Trixie's hand plunged into his skull. Death stepped out of the shadows with a smile on his face. Trixie smiled at the man with gray hair. "Please come and visit sometime. I have the recipe of the pizza pie you enjoyed in Chicago oh so long ago," she told him. "I shall keep you to your word, young lady," said Death with a grin on his face. "I always do, Death. I always do," said Trixie with a wink of her eye as he takes the soul of the little bastard before her. Death stops for a moment and holds out a piece of paper. "I believe this will help with getting to all his accounts," he said as he vanished with a crying pig in his bony fingers. Trixie grinned looking at the two before her. "Sorry I didn't allow you to your fun. But Death had other things to do," she said, grinning even more. "Death is always busy. But most of his time is spent finding places he enjoys eating. As for War is looking to make a little trouble here soon," said Sukumo looking at the two in the office with him. "I figured much. When I was last in hell, I did not see him around. As well, he is hunting for an Uchiha that should have been his prize once he died. But like how Lucifer said, there are a few BSTRDs missing," said Maze looking a little annoyed as she walked over to the couch and picked up a towel that was on the couch there. "So shall we clean him out and have a little fun with him?" questioned Trixie holding up the piece of paper. The two in the office grinned as they got to work. The villagers wouldn't know what happened until morning, but for now the three got to work as demons and hellhounds appears in the office and cleaned the BSTRD out and went to locations the others couldn't go to at the moment. Michael stood outside of Tazuna's house. He wasn't in the most pleasant of moods and the others kept away from him. They didn't want to cross the man no archangel when he was in one of his moods. For the last time he was upset. Lucifer fell from heaven leaving his twin brother to fill a role he wasn't ready for. Tsunami came outside hold a cup of coffee. It was dawn and she had woken up and made herself some coffee and to just have a few moments of peace before the others rose and the chaos would begin. She stepped out of the back door and down the steps and took a seat taking a sip of her morning coffee. "Good morning, Tsunami," said Michael stepping out of the shadows looking at her. "Good morning, Michael," said Tsunami as she didn't allow herself to show that the man before her had frightened her. She kept herself calm as she took another drink of her coffee. Wrapping both hands around her coffee mug to stop the shake she felt when he had surprised her. Ace and Naruto come walking out of the house. "Well, Naruto, if you ever get tired of being a shinobi, I'm sure we can somehow find a way back to my old world and raise hell as pirates," said Ace as she has a large D grin on her face. "Well, let me at least make it to Jonin and then we can ask Maze or Michael about getting back to your world to have some fun," said Naruto with a chuckle. "Sounds like a plan," said Ace as she ran down the steps of the porch and onto the docks. "Time to train on the water," she told her brother. "Brats," said Michael as he spots the two teens. "What are you two doing up so early?" he questions them as they both freeze on the dock. They turn to face the annoyed archangel standing before them. "Early morning training," answers Ace looking at him as if it were the most obvious answer to them being up so early. "Good," said Michael turning his back to them to face the forest. "Where are those three? They have been gone for way too long." He grumbles to himself watching for any movement in tree line. They will be back soon, said Naruto as he jumped onto the lake next to his sister. Stop being such a mother hen, Michael, said Ace as she rolls her eyes at the archangel now standing on the dock watching the two teens spar. Michael narrows his eyes at his adopted niece. Watch it, Ace. I wouldn't think twice in sending you to hell and seeing your father. He growls out at her. Ooh, scary, said Ace dryly at Michael as Maze walked up behind him. What was that, Michael? Questioned Maze in a sickly sweet voice. Michael turns around, his blue eyes meeting with her brown eyes. He grins looking at her. I told her if she doesn't knock it off, I'll be sending her to see her father. He told her with a cheeky grin on his face. Maze spun her blades into her hands. Well, I can also send you to see your father and your brother, she told him with a wicked grin on her face as she licked the blade in her right hand. Michael's blue eyes sparkles at this. Well, it appears you and the others didn't have enough fun last night, he told her, taking a step closer. Sukumo appeared next to them. No. The thugs the little BSTRD hired were worthless, he said as his eyes flash amber. I see, said Michael looking over at Sukumo as a sword appears at his hip. Now boy, we have to play nice, said Trixie as she appeared out of nowhere as she held a large bag in her hands. Sukumo and Michael shared one more glare before turning away from each other. Now I have all the deeds for all the companies he had in the land of waves that we can give to all the kind people he has made their lives a living hell, as well as all his bank accounts in the land of wave, said Trixie with a large grin on her face. Hey, did you get me some too, Auntie Trixie? Questioned Ace with large puppy dog eyes, as she jumped over a leg sweep from Naruto. As her hands turn to flames and she places her flaming right hand on the blonde's head and pushes off. Too slow, she told him with a large D grin on her face. Hey, yelled Naruto as flames surround him as well to fight off his sister's flames. I hate it when you use your flames on me, Ace, he growls out at her. Ace sticks her tongue out at her little brother. You have been slacking off, little brother, she tells him as she jumps back onto the dock as the other genin come out of the house to see why there is yelling going on outside. Trixie grins looking at Ace. Yes, my little Ace, I got you some, she said with a cheesy grin on her face. But that is in another scroll and will be given to you later, she said in a low tone voice but not in a whisper. Ace just grins even more, nodding her head at this. Tazuna comes out of his house to see what is going on. What is going on here? He questions them. Maze and Sukumo look at him. We killed Gato, said Sukumo as he takes a drink of the sake bottle that appeared in his hands as Kakashi walks out behind the bridge builder. Why you killed Jigato? Stuttered Tazuna as his eyes grew wider. Yes, said Maze as she throw a scroll to the elderly man's feet. His head is in the scroll, she told him with a devilish smirk on her face. We also have all the land, company, and bank deeds and accounts he has in the land of waves to give to you and the people of this country to regain your wealth you have lost to the little BSTRD. As well, do not worry about paying for a higher ranking mission. We have already taken care of that, said Trixie with a grin on her face. Tazuna fell to his knees crying. For once in his life he was crying tears of pure joy knowing that his home is free of all the hell that Gato had held them to for the past several years. Thank you, you have saved us all, he cried out, looking at them. But we will still stick around until you finish the bridge, for there might still be some of Gato's men that we didn't kill around, said Maze with a wicked grin on her face. So I hope you don't mind putting up with us for a little while longer, she told him. Not at all, said Tazuna bowing to the raven-hair woman standing before him. Ace jumps on Sukumo's back hugging his neck looking over at Kakashi with a grin on her face. So Kakashi, are we going to have fun training together? She questioned the silver-haired jonin. Kakashi just pales looking at the raven-hair girl before him. I'm sure. He tells her, not knowing how to answer her. Naruto with several clones sit in the center of the lake with Trixie, Ace, and Maze on their shoulders. So what did you get me? Questioned Ace with sparkling eyes as Sukumo was left to deal with his crybaby son and the others. Along with Michael, who is at the moment plotting the death of Uchiha and Sakura Haruno for their entitlement ways. Sukumo places his hand on the Archangel's shoulder. It isn't worth it. There are more howler monkeys to deal with if you go after them both. Sukumo tells the man. Michael lets out a huff as he spins on his heel. Then you tell your son to handle those 2 monkeys before I drop them from the heavens. Growls Michael's with annoyance lacing his voice. Sukumo's eyes harden as he looks over the group of people till they land on his son. Kakashi. He said in a commanding tone of voice. Kakashi's head snaps up from watching the genin train. Yes, sir. He questions before he answers him by calling the man his father. I need you to get your 2 students under control before my friend there kills them. Said Sukumo with a dark grin on his face. Kakashi nods his head and pulls Sasuke and Sakura away. To have a long talk with the 2 fools away. Sukumo turns back to face Ace and Naruto as well as the others that have stopped what they have been doing to watch the SHT storm that should have happened. Ace, here is your scroll. Said Sukumo as he throws it at the raven-hair girl. As. Cheers Ace as she dances around on top of the lake with the red scroll in her hands. Naruto chuckles at her antics. Really, Ace? He questions his older sisters. Ace's sparkling eyes turn to Naruto with a large grin on her face. A pirate's life for me. No matter what, I will always be a pirate until my very last breath, and in heaven or hell I shall still be a pirate playing ninja. She tells him with a giggle fit. I really want to go play pirate now. Said Naruto with a large D grin on his face. Ace giggles some more. Yeah. Too bad Pops is dead. You would have loved being a Whitebeard. But you're still too much like my baby brother Luffy. I think you would do better as a Straw Hat or a pirate captain of your own crew. She tells him. The other genin just blink looking at the 2 siblings talking about pirates and shinobi. Ace. Calls out Choji as he isn't sure how to word his question to the raven-hair girl. Ace's head snaps up and looks over at the fluffy genin with a large D grin on her own face now. Yeah, Choji, is there something I am able to help you with? She questioned him. What do you mean pirate playing shinobi? Questioned Choji with his cheeks slightly turning pink. Ace giggles. I was a pirate before I became a Chunin. And when I got bored of being a shinobi, I went back to be a pirate of the seas here. Really SCK. For all the pirates here are weak and I was ruling the sea until I got bored once more and I figure I'd come and see my baby brother Naruto and play shinobi once more. I will only stop being a shinobi the day my little brother quits and wants to go play pirate. She tells them with a large grin on her face. Everyone looks at her and to the blonde standing next to her. She isn't lying. Is all Naruto tells them as Sukumo grins. That day will be a fun day. For I am going with you 2 little brats. He tells them with a large grin of his own. Hell yeah. They wouldn't know what will hit them with a werewolf that can swim. Cheers Ace as she jumps onto Sukumo's back. Now this has everyone wanting to know what the F Ace is talking about. But the girl is a little bit of a mind F and not even Shikamaru wants to deal with the girl as she is already dealing with Naruto. One is go enough and only one. Time skip. 2 months have gone by since Sukumo, Trixie, and Maze have killed Gato and his little pets. Alright brats. It's time to head home. Orders Michael as he was already done with this mission since day 1. But they couldn't leave without making sure everything was done. About F time we get to leave. I'm bored, Uncle Michael. Whines Ace as she looks up at him with her large silver eyes with a pout and tears threatening to break free. Michael lets out a sigh. I am going to send you back to your little brother Luffy in a large box with a pink ribbon if you do not behave. He tells his pain in the niece. Yay! I would love to see Luffy and have him meet his other brother. But not the baby anymore. It's Naruto, for he is younger than Luffy. Said Ace with another pout, thinking about this. World of One Piece. Luffy sneezes as he looks up to the heaven. I'll make you proud of me, Ace. Also, Ace, did you know Sabo is alive? I just met him. So please rest easy knowing that you didn't leave me alone. I still have one brother. But I wish you would have been still alive when I Sabo. He thought to himself as he smiles and looks over at his crew from his special seat on top of Sunny's head. Back with Ace with Naruto. Ace smiles sadly. Luffy must be thinking about me. Something big must have happened during my time away. She tells Naruto, who's standing next to her. Yeah. But we will see him soon. Said Naruto with a large grin. Standing at the gates of Koona stood teams 10 and 7 along with their senseis, as well as Michael, Ace, Zabuza, and Haku. The 2 gate guards just stood there with their mouths open with shock. Welcome back teams 7 and 10. Welcome back Michael-sama, Sukumo-sama, may we know why you have Zabuza and an unknown with you? Asked Kotetsu as Izumo nodded his head at his partner's question. Michael's cold crystal baby blues glare at the 2 guards with annoyance. They are under the Uzumaki Namikaze's clan protection. He tells the 2 in a deadpan voice. They just dumbly nodded their heads to the Archangel's words. Just then team of ANBU appear before the group. Lord Hokage is awaiting you. Said a bear mask ANBU. Sukumo smirks. So, what does the old buzzer want from us? He questions, knowing very well that they needed to head to meet with the Hokage to give a mission report. He looks over his shoulder at the others standing behind him. Let's go, children. He said with a smirk on his lips as his eyes flash amber as he looks over towards his son. Kakashi just swallowed as he didn't want to face his father's wrath, as he has changed from the one he had once been. The man that Danzo had sentenced to his own death through guilt and grief. Naruto wraps his arm around Ace's neck as they both began skipping towards the Hokage tower. Both just giggling and skipped towards the Hokage tower. Both just having a wonderful time as they skipped. The villagers just watched them with worry and fear. As a appealing young girl is in his embrace and they both seem happy. An unnamed Chunin opens the main doors of the Hokage tower as they skip right past him as the others followed behind. Trixie giggles at the 2's antics as Maze grins at this as Sukumo shook his head at them. Great. The devil children are back together. This village will burn from their antics. Said Sukumo as he looks over at the frightened Chunin as he pales, looking at the Jonin with a demonic grin. The poor Chunin turns tail and runs for the hills as he didn't know what to do. Ino let out a sigh at the antics of Naruto and Ace as well as Sukumo for putting the fear of Yami into the poor Chunin, who was so kind to hold the door open for them. Troublesome. I can't call them both blondes, but they do act like airheads. Said Shikamaru as he stands behind Naruto and Ace as they are now knocking on the Hokage's office door. Come in. Came the voice of the Hokage. Both Naruto and Ace look at each other with a large grin on their faces as they both rose a leg and kicked the door open. Sarutobi looks at his kicked open office door with a blonde he sees as a grandson and a raven-hair girl that had taken a vacation for the past several years. There in the office stood Ibiki and Commander Dragon looking at the 2. What the hell, brats? Growls out Ibiki as he glares at the duo standing before him and the others in the office. Ace smirks. Hey Scarface. It's been a while since we last seen each other. She told him, still grinning at them. Ibiki blinked and looked at the raven-hair girl wearing an orange cowboy hat with goggles and red beads on it. Ace-chan? He questions, taking a step towards her. Yup. How have you been, Ibiki-sensei? Questions Ace, still grinning as her and Naruto now stood before the man as the others come wandering into the office. Zabuza and Haku stand off to the side near the office windows. This didn't go unmissed by Commander Dragon nor Ibiki, who is watching the two near the windows out of the corner of his eyes. Why is Zabuza of the BLD missed here as well as that unknown boy? Questions Ibiki as he is glaring down at the siblings. It is now Naruto's turn to grin at the scar-faced man standing before him and his sister. Because he is under clan protection as we are the last of our clans. So, we get to bring people in. He said with a slight laugh into his tone of voice. Nicely played, brat. You know, with them under your clan protection, no one can touch them. Said Ibiki, now smirking at the boy standing before him. We know. So, we also know that Zabuza and his student Haku will be under house arrest for about a month. That means they can choose to be shinobi of this village or just be part of the Uzumaki Namikaze family. Said Ace, looking over at the Hokage, who just nods his head at the girl before him. I take it the mission has gone well? Questions the Hokage with a grandfatherly smile on his face. It went well, Gigi. Trixie, Maze, and Sukumo killed Gato within a few days as he tried to touch my sister. But she set his ablaze. Said Naruto, who frowned at the last part. It's fine, little brother. The little BSTRD never laid a finger on me. But I did burn that little hand of his. Said Ace, giving her little brother a soft smile. Naruto just slowly nods his head to her words. Also, the bridge between their island and the mainland. We just had a few stragglers of his little thugs attack us during the build. As they didn't like how we killed their payday. Said Naruto as a smile returned to his face. Here is the scroll. Said Michael, who places the mission scroll on the old Hokage's desk. We had the children write it up. But for the parts that Maze, Fleabag, and Trixie fill out. He said, smirking at Sukumo. A feral growl escaped from Sukumo's lips. Laugh it up, BSTRD. He growls out as his eyes flash crimson. Enough, you two. Said Maze as she takes both men by the ears. We are the adults here. Not the children we are training to be killers. She tells them as they both glare at her as she lets them go and turns around and walks back to her students. Well, senseis, are we allowed to leave? Questions Ino as she grabs Naruto's and Ace's arms, dragging them to the door where Shikamaru and Choji stood at, waiting for their teams and the insane Jonin. Yes, you are dismissed. As well, Ace, I would like to see you in my office in the morning. Said the third Hokage with a smile, waving at Team 10. Zabuza and Haku. I will place you in house arrest in the Uzumaki estate. But you will be meeting with Ibiki for the next 3 months. But I do hope you will be joining our village by the time of the Chunin exams. Said Sarutobi as he lights his pipe. Zabuza and Haku step forth before the Hokage. I wouldn't mind become a Jonin once more. But I am unsure about Haku. As he has never been a part of no village. He told the Hokage. I am glad to hear you want to join our ranks. This will make it much easier. Said the Hokage as he looked over to Haku, as even Zabuza is looking down at the boy standing right next to him. I would like to join the rankings. Zabuza has told me that I am high Chunin to low Jonin in my skills. But I would like to learn more medical ninjutsu. Said Haku with a smile on his face. The elderly man closes his eyes as he lets out a hum as he bridges his hands under his chin. That would be fine. But I have one question. Do either of you have a bloodline limit? He questions as he can feel a cool air around the boy. Haku gets nervous as he looks up at Zabuza with fear in his gray eyes. Zabuza places his hand on his shoulders, knowing what his son has gone through. He looks over at the Hokage. Yes, Haku does have a bloodline limit. But he is frightening though to speak of it. Because of the bloodline wars we had or are still having in Kiri. He said, looking back down at the boy. The third nods his head to this. Please do not fear your new home. We embrace bloodline limits. We have many in our village. He said, smiling softly at Haku. Haku swallows and slowly nods his head. I am a ice user, he said in a soft voice. But the third, Commander Dragon, and Ibiki heard him. That amazing. It will aid you greatly in medical ninjutsu, said the third as he pulled out some scrolls. Here, take these to study while you are in house arrest. I am sure Maze or Trixie will aid you in anything you need help with, he told Haku in a reassuring tone of voice. Haku nods his head as he takes the scroll and bows to the Hokage as he turns to the Jonins in charge of Team 10. Come on, brats. Let's go have some fun, said Maze as she wraps an arm around Haku's shoulder as Trixie jumps onto Sukumo's shoulder giggling. Kakashi looks at his father as the man just nods his and walks out of the Hokage's office. Alright, my cute little genin. You have the week off, he tells him with a smile. It is 1 month until the Chunin exams. Maze and Trixie stand before their students. Maze's brown eyes glare down at her students as well as Ace as the girl is just giggling at her aunties. Shika closes her eyes as she lets out a sigh. Don't glare at me like that. I haven't done anything. If you are looking to blame someone for that prank on ANBU, look at those two fools sitting before you, she said with annoyance, lacing her voice. Ino leans against a tree with her arms crossed, shaking her head as Ace and Naruto are both bound to a post right in front of Matsi and Trixie. Even though Trixie isn't helping any with her own giggling. Hey, they asked for it, said Ace with her silver eyes sparkling bright with mischief. Yeah, they didn't believe we could find their base and prank them, said Naruto with a massive foxy grin on his face as if he hadn't done anything wrong. Matsi raises her right hand up to her forehead. It doesn't mean for you two morons to go through with it, she tells them as she doesn't know if she should laugh her as off at what they had done or just kick their asses for what they had done. No. It means we should do it. For Boar had dumped purple paint on me, saying he was the MSTR of pranks. So Ace and I had to show him whom the gods of pranks are, said Naruto still grinning, as he knew no one would ever top them in this lifetime. Kurama appears in a swirl of flames before the two women and the two bound fools. With him having me sealed within him, he had to do it. For my honor as a trickster, he had to do it. As a kitsune never backs down as well. He is my kit. He is a kitsune. Like I just said. He isn't able to back down, he said with a chuckle. See, said Ace with a grin on her face. We had to do it. Even Kurama agrees, she adds, smirking as her flames burn the ropes off them both. Whatever. All I know is we have to get ready for the Chunin exam. They are just a month away and you and my team will be winning this B. For Ace had won the B when she had taken part in it. That is the other reason she is here. She is here to aid in your training, said Matsi, now smiling like the demon she is. This makes a chill run down the spines of Team 10 as they do not know how to feel about this. I'm okay, said Ace as she blinks owlishly at them. I haven't trained anyone in a very long time. It will be fun, she tells them as she spins on her heels and smirks at her little brother and the girls of Team 10. Alright, run. It's time to run or I'll burn your ass, she tells them as her right fist ignites. With this, all three members of Team 10 take off running for dear life as Ace is hot on their heels cackling like a mad woman. Flashback. Ace returns to the Hokage's office the very next day. She didn't come alone, as Naruto and Sukumo had also returned with her. For she hadn't wanted to return to meet with the old man. Hello, Ace-chan, said Sarutobi with a grandfatherly smile on his face. It slightly faltered as he spotted Naruto and Sukumo flanking her. What brings you, Naruto-kun, Sukumo-kun? He questions, trying to come up with his slight slip-up. Sukumo narrows his eyes at the elderly man sitting before him as he stands behind his hyperactive prior maniac niece. I had an unsettling feeling, you know, from experience I follow my gut feeling and follow it, he tells the old man with a dark smirk on his face. Yes. I do remember. For you had saved all the children all those years ago. Said Sarutobi as he moves his hands to cover his mouth with his hands bridging before his mouth covering his frown. Not wanting to show his dissatisfaction with the man being here. Ace smirks at the old man. I have a feeling this has something to do with what we had a fight about the last time I was in the village. Before I left to go play pirate for a while, as I do have a Sannin past that my father had left me before he had passed. She tells him with a dark smirk on her face. Well, Ace-chan. Began Sarutobi before he is cut off. Like I had told you before, old man. I am not getting married for poliocal bullshit. As I am not a pawn to his village. If need be I shall leave once more and you will not be able to find me. For I can have my Uncle Michael hide me where no one in this world is able to find me. Said Ace with a feral grin on her face as flames lick her shoulders. A feral growl escapes Naruto. A guttural growl is heard coming from the young blonde in the room. What the F, old man? What makes you think you are able to use my sister in this way? He growls out as his blue eyes turn crimson as flames lick around his fingertips. Now Naruto, please settle down. You do not understand what is going on and what it means for the village. Began Sarutobi as another person cuts him off once more. F that. We understand what it means to be the good of the village. We know. As Naruto is the SLV of this village with the QB sealed within his gut. Making him the punching bag to those heirs out there that would rather see him dead and you do nothing about it. But for my family, making sure those heirs know if they try they will die. Growls out Sukumo as he begins shifting into a massive werewolf before the leader of the village. As well, I had died for this place oh so long ago. Because you allowed that bstrd Danzo twist his knife into my gut and leave my stupid son alone for him to become a fool who blames himself for the death of his team. For no one had ever made him get the mental help he needed. He growls out as Sarutobi's eyes widen as the wolf is out of the bag at who the man standing before him truly is. What? Stutters Sarutobi with fear lacing his voice. For the ghost that is standing before him shouldn't be there. A smirk plays across Sukumo's muzzle. I have come back from the depths of hell. As the servant of Lucifer to watch over my nephew and niece to make sure you bstrds do not try anything against them. He growls out at the old fool before him. With a shaky hand he moves them down back to his desk. I understand. My dear Ace-chan. Forget what I have called you here for. I shall tell the Lord of Wind you have kindly declined his son's request of marriage. As well for Naruto, I shall inform the Lord of the Land of Tea that you have declined his daughter's request of marriage. Yeah. I do not want to marry some pampered bee. Said Naruto with a feral grin on his face as his eyes finally turned blue as his flames faded away. Good. Said Ace in a calm tone. It was best you dealt with Uncle Sukumo. Rather than Aunties Motsi or Trixie. For it wouldn't have ended as well as it had right now. She told him with a smirk on her face as she spins on her heel. Stops before heading to the door. If this happens once more, I shall pull all of the Uzumaki and Namikaze's funding in this village. Meaning everything in this village will close down and it will fall and pull all our money from the banks in the Land of Fire. She tells him with a bright smile on her face. This leaves the Hokage pale and shocked. As he knows that the first Hokage's wife's family was the one who funded this entire village as well as the Namikaze clan before they all pretty much died out. But for kids, they know they have power. I understand. He tells them as they have him by the ball. End of flashback. Sukumo sits with Michael in the clan courtyard. With a frown on his face, thinking back to a month ago. Still thinking about the bullshit the old man had tried pulling on the brats? Questions Michael. Yes. Said Sukumo as he looked over at the man. Michael hums in thought about something. You know, we will speak to his mother soon. If she wishes. We will act and begin pulling all funds from all banks in the Land of Fire. We will have to do it in gold. For we will take him to the world where Ace had come from. Her little brother will need her aid one day soon. As well, she needs to pay a BSTRD back for the hell he had placed her in before she had died. He added with a smirk on his face. I do agree with this. For it will aid them. As well. With what I feel what will come. It isn't good. Maybe we could take a few of the others they get along with. Said Sukumo with a smirk on his face. Michael hums in agreement to the other man's words. I do wish I had tagged along with you when you had told the old fool who you truly were. He told the other with a chuckle. It was priceless. I wish I had taken a photo of the fool's face. Said Sukumo with a chuckle. Training Ground 10. Naruto, Ino, Shika fall to the ground panting. Ace stands before them chuckling. Ah, you poor babies. You need to SCK it up and keep going. If you need to puke then puke and keep going. She tells them in a mocking tone. Naruto pushes himself up, glaring at his insane sister. Shut up, Ace. I am not insane like you. I know I have an insane stamen, but I still have my limits at times. He growls out at her. Ah. Cry me a river, baby brother. Ace tells him with a SHT eating grin on his face. Fine, rest up. For next we are going to be going over your taijutsu as well as jutsus. For I do not want any weaklings going into the Chunin exams. She tells them as whines are only heard from the trio as they clap back onto the hard cold ground. Naruto stands before the gates of the academy. He looks to his right and left. Shika and Ino stand at his side with smiles on their faces. Are you ready? He questions his two teammates. Yes. Ino exclaims with a bright smile. Troublesome. Sure. Shika grumbles out as she stuffs her hands into her pockets. Alright, you three. Stop wasting time and get your asses moving before I light a fire under your asses. Ace tells them with a devilish grin on her face. The three sweat drop at their part-time teacher antics. They just turn away from her and begin walking towards the doors of the academy as they are taking their first steps to their future. Ace crosses her arms watching them walk away. I hope you are ready for what will come, little brother. For the winds of change are blowing. What direction are they blowing? I am not sure. For my soul tells me that there will be a great fire burning within this village soon. With a shake of her head she spins on her heel. She looks up to the sky watching a large fluffy cloud drifting by. Oh Lu. If only I had you here to help me. She whispers to herself. On board the Thousand Sunny. Luffy looks around the dock of the Thousand Sunny with an odd feeling overcoming him. His eyes drift over to his special seat. There his eyes meet with violet eyes of a crimson-haired woman standing on his special spot. She waves at him with a soft smile on her face as she places something down. Luffy's eyes widen as he rushes over to his special place. Hey! Why are you in my special place? He yells, demanding for the woman to explain to him why she was standing there. Now this has Zoro shooting to his feet with his single eye widening as he spots the woman as well. Yelling could be heard coming from the kitchen. As Sanji comes walking out of the kitchen. What the hell is going on? Sanji demands as his own eyes land on the woman. As well as he spots Luffy rushing towards her. With a final wave the woman falls backwards into the sea below. Now this has the two men doubling their speed. When they arrive they see the woman standing on the sea below smiling at them as a ring of fire appears before her. Please read the letter I have left you. She tells up towards Luffy as she steps into the flames vanishing from sight. Luffy looks down to the scroll resting on Sunny's head. Slowly he bends down picking up the scroll. On it he spots his name. Luffy, only for your eyes. Ha! Is all that escapes him as he turns around on his heel. Leaving Zoro and Sanji standing there. As he didn't even bother to say anything as he stretched his arm up towards the crow's nest. As he knows no one is in there. Baltigo Sabo's office. Sabo walked down the long lonely hallways towards his office and personal quarters. He spots a crimson-haired woman walking out of his office. He arches a brow at her as he doesn't remember ever seeing a woman with crimson hair like that before. Before he could even think about speaking, she turns around as her violet eyes meet his own. "I have left you a message from the past," she tells him as she vanishes around the corner. Running down the hallway towards the corner she had vanished around. He sees her standing before a doorway surrounded by flames in the middle of the hallway. "Do not worry. I have only been sent to deliver a message for a ghost. This may be the last time we will be meeting." She tells him to vanish into the flames. Pulling himself back together, he turns on his booted heel. Rushing back down the old stone hallway towards his room. Slamming his door open, he spots an orange scroll resting upon a book that rests in the center of his desk. Slowly he walks towards it. Spotting writing on the scroll. "Sabo. For your eyes only." He stood there for several minutes just looking at the scroll resting before him. "Huh," is the only sound escaping his lips as he slowly walks around his desk. Removing his top hat. Slowly resting it down on the corner of his desk. Pulling back his chair, he slowly sits down as his eyes never leave the scroll resting before him. His black gloved hand slowly moved towards the scroll. Lucifer's office. Kushina appears before her husband. "I have developed the 2 scrolls Ace-chan has requested of me," she tells him with a soft smile on her face. Looking up towards his wife. He smiles up towards her. "I am glad to hear that. For I have gotten word from Ruby. They have found out several troubling things. Things that will be placing our children in the line of danger." Lucifer tells her with a frown now marrying his face. This brought a frown to her own face. What has she found out? She questions, slightly demanding from her husband. Training Ground 10. The exams will be here within the month. I do have hope that you 3 alone will be making it to Chunin. I will be doing everything in my power to keep those old FAs from stopping you from moving on to Chunin. For if they try once more getting in my way, they will be burnt to a crisp. Ace tells them as she has a slight growl in her voice. Michael stood off to the side with his arms crossed over his chest. A smirk on his face. "Do not worry, Ace. I have been taking matters into my own hands as of late," he tells her. This makes the raven-haired girl to snap her head towards him. "What do you mean, Uncle Michael?" questions Ace as she has a little confusion in her eyes. He smirks at her. "You, as the others, shall be finding out in the coming days," Michael told her with a playful but sinister smile on his face. "Honestly, you are more like the devil than the angel you are," Ace tells him with her own cheeky smirk on her face. Michael just gives her a hearty laugh at her words. "Maybe I am," he tells her as he turns around, walking into the forest that surrounds them all. Vanishing from sight and mind. Secret meeting room. Several men from the civilian council sit around an old round wooden table. As a man with white hair stood up, placing his hands on the table before him. "The Lord of Snow has sent me a request," he tells them all as his outburst has now quieted everyone in the room. His pink eyes gilded around the table, looking at the man seated before him. "What does the Lord of Snow request of you?" questions a man with lavender hair. A wicked gleam appears in the man's pink eyes. "He has requested the hand of one Namikaze D. Ace, the daughter of our late 4th Hokage. As he has been seeking a bride worthy of a man like himself. As well, she had caught his eye during the Chunin exam she had taken part in several years ago. When he had heard she had left the village to go on a journey of her own, he had sent out main bounty hunters to find her and bring her to him. Each of them had always been sent back to him in a nicely packed box with a few Rio to give them a nice funeral." He tells them all as his grin grows even larger. Another man with raven hair laughs. "I had gotten a letter myself from the Lord of Fawn. He also requests the hand in marriage of Ace and her brother Naruto for his son and daughter. He tells the others, snorting at the idea of selling them off to the highest bidder. How much have each of them offered for their hands in marriage? Questions the man with lavender hair. 1,000,000 ryo. From the Lord of Snow. Said the pink-eyed man. What of the other lord? Questions the same man. The lord of the land of Fong has offered over 4,000,000 ryo as well as 2 ruby mines and 1 chakra metal mine. Offered the raven hair man. I do believe they would be mostly suited for the children of the Lord of Fong. Said the man with pink eyes. Off in the shadows stood Michael as well as Sukumo with devilish grins on their faces as they had gotten all of this recorded. So if they are questioned by anyone why these men have been murdered, they would have evidence as well as keeping Sukumo's threat that he had promised the Hokage. Shall we? Questions Michael with a dark glint in his eyes. We shall. Sukumo agrees with the archangel standing next to him. Within seconds Sukumo had transformed into a massive werewolf as well as his hellhound surrounding them both. As Michael's wings appear from his back as a black flaming sword appears in his right hand. Night BLD screams of horror and pain come from an old building in the center of the marketplace. ANBU was too frightened to even dare to step foot into the building. Even the shinobi kept to themselves. Just heading home or to the bars. Turning a blind eye to the horror that had been coming from the building. When the rays of the rising sun broke past the trees and walls of the village. One brave soul entered the building. A brave panda mask ANBU. Only to return within seconds with his own BLD curdling scream as he falls to his knees with his mask moving up as vomit comes flowing past his lips. Dragon had to be summoned. After the brave fool who had gone in. All others had refused. Demanding for someone of higher ranking to enter the build. For they do not want to see the horror that Panda had seen as Inochi had been summoned to tend to Panda. Not sure if he even wanted to enter the man's mind to seal away the memory of what he had seen. Training Ground 10. Michael and Sukumo stood in the center of the training ground. Like they had just woken their students up early to train. As the three of them didn't have time to waste as there is a dark horizon looming over the village. Mostly over 2 siblings. We need to make sure you 3 will be able to take down a Sannin. Sukumo barks out at the trio. Panting Naruto rests his hands on his bent knees. Why not make sure we are able to take on an archangel or a high-ranking demon? He questions the man before him with a sake boot held in his right hand. Sukumo smirks. Well, you are able to fight on par with me for 30 minutes. There will be others coming out of the woodworks that might outsmart you or even stronger than you. Or even be able to outlast you in battle. For Naruto. The main thing going for you is your stamina. For you are a stamina monster. Even then you will grow weak after a while. For you are not a god. Only part angel or devil. Whatever you would like to claim to be. He tells the boy as his eyes harden at what he had learnt last night. Kurama appears before them out of his seal. He is right, brats. As of today, each of you will be battling me. I want you 3 to be able to fight as if you are facing one of my siblings. He tells them as each of them pale at the idea of fighting him. I am going to die. Ino whines as she falls to her knees losing all hope for her future. Don't be a silly child. We wouldn't allow you to die. Michael tells her with an evil smirk on his face. We are doomed. They thought as one. Flashback. Kurama burst from the ground. His fist digs into Ino's gut. Sending the pale blonde-haired girl flying across the training ground. As her back slams into a boulder. Naruto winces as he watches his friend slam into the boulder. DMN Rama. Taking out some hate on the poor girl. Ace questions him as she walks over to Ino. Checking on the girl. Making sure she is still alive. She has to know that no one is going to be holding back during the exams. Kurama tells Ace as he is grumbling to himself as he is annoyed that he feels everyone is still trying to hold these kids carefully. Which is just hurting them. Not helping them whatsoever. Ace, you need to stop babying them. We must wake them up to the world they live in. As well to the world they might escape into. He tells her as he raises his right arm into the air waving to her as he turns to walk away. He needed to meet with Michael. He does have a point, Ace. Sukumo tells Ace as he takes a swig from his bottle of sake. As he jumps down from the tree, he had been seated upon watching the training from. As he lands next to Naruto's head. As Shika had pulled herself up against the tree to rest. Naruto let out a long groan. His face is buried in the dirt. Dirt flying up as he breathes into the dirt. Slowly he pulls his arms back and bends his knees, slowly pushing himself up. Spitting out dirt. And mouth out of his mouth. He is right. He agrees, pushing himself over onto his back. A groan escaping his mouth. Troublesome. They just want us to know what we are going to be facing. But if this keeps up, I don't think we are going to be able to take part in the Chunin exams. Shika tells them with a frown on her face as she leans her head back against the tree, looking up to the sky that now has clouds slowly gather for a late afternoon storm. End of flashback. Present day. Enter the academy door. Shika, Ino, and Naruto pause as they see Sasuke making an as out of himself with the eternal gate guards under a genjutsu. Troublesome. Grumbles Shika. Let's just head to the examination room before we get pulled into this mess. She tells them as she sees them nod their heads in agreement. Making their way up the stairs, getting away from that train wreck. Finding their way to the third floor and the last door of the strange hallway, they spot Ace and Trixie standing before the door leading to the first part of the exams and the first step they will be taking to their future. Ace grins seeing her little brother and the girls as Trixie waves at them. Glad to see you three, saws past the genjutsu they had set up. Ace tells them. Ino rolls her eyes. It was set by those two morons that are always playing cards at the gates. She tells Ace, still smirking. Trixie snickers at the girl's antics. True. She answers with another giggle. With that said, Trixie loses her smiles and giggles as her face turns stone cold. This exam will test your strength and your will and trust with each other. She tells them. Naruto takes a step forth. We do understand that. As Kurama, Sukumo, and Michael PND that into us for the past month. He told her as he rubbed his right forearm. Ace smirks. I know. I was there for that. As I was one of the other ones pounds that into that thick skull of yours. She tells him, chucking. But get your asses into that room. As they will be locking the room now. She told them as she pushes them into the room as there is a click once the door closes behind them. Exam room. Naruto, Shika, Ino looked around the room as they walked in as it had gone silent. All eyes landed upon them as everyone was staring at them. Doing their best to scare away the new freshly minted genin, believing they are ready to move up the ranking in the shinobi world. Shika lets out a sigh as she shakes her head. Come on. We do not have time for their games. We need to keep it under radar. She tells her teammates as she grabs them by the arms, dragging them away towards an empty corner away from everyone. Naruto's mindscape. Kurama's head snaps up as he feels his baby brother within the room. He smirks as he allows his chakra leak out of his host. Kurama, what the hell are you doing? Naruto questions him. Hush. I'm having fun screwing with my baby brother. Kurama tells his kit with an evil little giggle. Letting out a sigh. Naruto just shakes his head as he doesn't fight Kurama with his antics. Across the room, Gaara's head snaps up when he feels another person like himself as his mother goes nuts in her seal from feeling the chakra that is leaking into the classroom. That BSTRD. I am going to murder him. Just you wait. Shikuku roars at feeling his eldest brother's chakras slowly flooding the room. Gaara moves his hands up to his head, crouching down slightly as his fingers grip his hair, trying now to pull his hair out. His two siblings take a slight step back as they didn't know if their brother was finally going to have that mental break and kill everyone in the room with them all locked in there. Just then the door at the bottom of the room slams open and in steps a large man with a long black leather duster and black boots with icy cold black eyes. So alright folks, that's all for today. Stay tuned for part 4. Do subscribe, like and share for more such videos. Also check out the story and author AngelFallenDemon on FANFICTIONnet. Press the bell icon to be notified first on release. See you in the next video. Till then, goodbye.